China has officially taken its heated conflict with Japan to the United Nations, and the language has never been stronger. Accusations, threats, canceled concerts, and diplomatic fury, all triggered by one statement from Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. Is the world witnessing the birth of a dangerous new conflict in Asia? And could Taiwan become the spark of something much bigger? Stay with me as we unpack the full story. Will Japan's bold stance over Taiwan push China to take action? And could this be Asia's biggest diplomatic standoff in decades? Let's find out. Japan got a new prime minister, Sanae Takaichi, a strong conservative nationalist known for her bold opinions on national defense. On November 7th, during a parliamentary session, she was asked a simple question. If China uses military force against Taiwan, how will Japan respond? Her answer shocked the world. She replied that such an attack could be considered a direct threat to Japan's survival. That's not just a casual comment. In Japan's national security law, a situation threatening Japan's survival gives the prime minister legal power to deploy the military. That means Japan hinted at military involvement if China attacks Taiwan. This was a major shift. For decades, Japan followed a policy of strategic ambiguity, just like the United States, never confirming whether they would defend Taiwan militarily. But now, that veil of ambiguity is gone. China did not take this lightly. In fact, what came next was a dramatic diplomatic explosion that moved from Asia to the United Nations. China's ambassador to the UN, Fu Kong, sent an official letter to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. In this letter, he directly accused Japan and Prime Minister Takaichi of violating international law, threatening military intervention, and challenging China's sovereignty. China warned, if Japan dares to attempt an armed intervention in the cross-strait situation, it would be an act of aggression. China also said it would resolutely defend itself under international law and the UN Charter. This was one of the strongest official warnings China has ever delivered to Japan. For China, Taiwan is not just a territory. It is a core national interest, a red line that, in Beijing's view, no country should cross. But why is Taiwan so important? Why would two major Asian powers risk a crisis, possibly even war, over it? China considers Taiwan to be a part of its territory and has never ruled out military force to unify the island with mainland China. But Taiwan sees itself as democratic, self-governed, and separate from Beijing. Now here's the twist. Taiwan is located just 100 kilometers, or 60 miles, from Japanese territory. That means in the event of a conflict, Japan could be directly affected, especially through military tensions, refugee flows, disruption of trade and semiconductor supply chains, and threats to Japanese islands. Japan fears that a Chinese takeover of Taiwan would give Beijing control over vital shipping lanes, impacting not just Japan, but the entire global economy. That's why Japan is abandoning ambiguity and becoming more vocal about Taiwan's defense. Diplomatically, things didn't stop at words. China began taking retaliation in surprising and symbolic ways. Soon after the dispute went public, tensions escalated beyond government statements. Chinese officials said Japan's comments had severely damaged trade relations. Japanese musician concerts in China were abruptly canceled. Chinese social media started trending anti-Japan narratives. China also demanded that Japan withdraw its statement, calling it provocative and a direct challenge to China's sovereignty. Japan's foreign ministry responded firmly, saying China's accusations were entirely unacceptable. Japan insisted that its position remains peaceful and rooted in protecting national security, not provoking conflict. But China didn't just defend Taiwan claims with politics. They pulled out something powerful from history: World War II and the founding of the United Nations. As this year marks the 80th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II, China is using history to strengthen its case. Beijing repeatedly brings up two major documents from World War II: Cairo Declaration, 1943, and Potsdam Declaration, 1945. These documents declared that territories taken by Japan, including Taiwan, should be returned to China. China argues that these declarations prove Taiwan legally belongs to China. However, many countries say these were statements of intent, not legally binding treaties. Plus, here's another catch. These declarations were made by the Republic of China government, which later fled to Taiwan in 1949 after losing the Civil War to the Communist Party. So the more you dig into history, the more complex it becomes. So where does this leave us now? Are China and Japan on a dangerous path? Could this affect global peace? Stay tuned. This isn't just a China-Japan argument. This is about the future of Asia's security, the global economy and shipping routes, semiconductor supply and technological competition, and the balance of power: Japan, China, Taiwan, the US. China wants Japan and the world to stay out of Taiwan. But Japan, along with the US, fears that doing nothing could shift the balance of power in Asia permanently towards China. Diplomats believe this is the biggest Japan-China bilateral crisis in years, perhaps even decades. But so far, despite strong words, neither side wants a military conflict. Both are using diplomacy, trade pressure, history, and international organizations like the UN to fight a strategic war without bullets. But the real question is, will this remain a diplomatic war, or could it escalate into something much bigger? At its core, this debate isn't just about Taiwan. It's about influence, security, economics, and the future power structure of Asia. China is warning Japan. Japan is warning China, and the world is watching closely. One bold statement from a prime minister sparked a chain reaction. Now we enter a new phase where diplomacy, history, and national security collide. Final hook for viewers. So what do you think? Is Japan right to prepare for Taiwan's defense? Will China push back harder at the UN? And could the Taiwan issue turn into Asia's next major crisis? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More global affairs breakdowns coming your way.